Good morning, YouTube, BookTube, people out there in the world. I thought I'd make a video. It's kind of like a yearly wrap-up of reading. I've been watching BookTube, and people have been doing these tags about how many books you read this year, did you reach your goals, things like that. And I was thinking, I don't personally know how many books I read from cover to cover. As you could see from my videos, I rarely finish a book. If I do, it might take me a long time. Now, I am almost finished reading 3 novels, and I've shown those in recent videos, and probably one of those novels I'll finish today. Today is a Monday here in Southwest Michigan. It's December the 17th. It is 7:10 in the morning, and I'm writing in my diary. I'm on page 1075, and will soon be on page 1076 for the year 2018. So yeah, today I volunteer at the Book Nook, the library used bookstore, and I'm going to take one of those novels that I've been reading, and hopefully I only got a couple of pages left and I'll finish that. I've been thinking about doing a review of that book, which escapes me right now, the title. But I was looking through my I have this habit, as you know, I have an online diary. I have a couple of online diaries that I've been keeping since 2001. And the major one, as I have said, is Crookedfingers in Live Journal. And I go back and look at, like, this is the month of December. So I'll go into the archives and I'll click on the year 2005. December the 16th, 2005, and want to see what I was doing, what I was reading, etc. But one thing I also do at the end of the year, now I don't know if I've done this every year, but I will go through my diaries and find out what I've read throughout that year, and I'll list them by month. For example, there'll be January 2018, and I'll list what I recorded in my January 2018 diary of what I read. Now, I got my diaries out of the lower level just to show you. These are my 2018 diaries by month. This is January, and then you have February, and then there's March. I like different colors, March, and then you have April, and then there's May, and then there's June, and then there's July 2018, August 2018. That's the month I was born. I was born on August the 14th, 1952 in Oakland, California. But then I have September 2018, October 2018, and November. And what I will do, and what I'm going to do the next couple of days, is go through my diaries and find out what I read. Now, I will list in these diaries something I might have read just for a couple of days. But what I do is, usually I'll read a book, and if I see it listed like in February, like in January and February, then I know I've been reading it consistently. Sometimes I'll find that I've read that book January, February, into March. And so I'll list that book in the month of January, in the month of February, in the month of March. because as you can see, I'm a slow reader. I don't just read books fast. For example, I read Christian books in the morning, like I've been reading the Reformation commentary on the Gospel of John, chapters 1 through 12. Now, I've been reading this for several months, so this will be listed in those months. It might be listed throughout, 3 or 4 months, same as John interpreted by early Christian medieval commentators, the Gospel of John. So it might be, these books might be listed for several months, maybe even for longer. So that's how I know what I've been reading. I don't list things that I just glanced out for a couple of days. It has to be something that I repeatedly mention throughout the month of January and into the month of February, and even maybe into the month of March. Now, as far as Christian books, it will take me a long time to read them, so they might be mentioned, like I said, several months. And sometimes I'll read a Christian book and just put it aside and think about it for a while, and then get it back out a couple of months later, and then resume reading it. So that's how I do that. And I know, now I don't remember if I did this last year, the year 2017, if I might have done it, because I know I made a video back in 2017, December of 2017, that I was going to do this. But now I did notice I did it in 2016, and I think I've been doing it several years, listing what I have been reading throughout a given year, because I don't really keep track in a separate notebook or like a moleskin of what I've read. I just write it down in my diary. Like, for example, here's January 2018, and I'll open it up and it will list it says here, I was reading on the 1st of January 2018. I was reading Hebrews and James, New Testament Reformation commentary on Scripture. And I was reading God Has Spoken in His Son, A Biblical Theology of Hebrews by Peter T. O'Brien. So I was reading those books in the morning. And then I'll see if it's mentioned, it's mentioned in January 16th, 2018. So I've been reading that for a couple of weeks, those books. And then it says, what else I was reading was, I was reading more reflections on the book of Job, volume 4, books 17 to 22 by Gregory the Great. And I was reading Sanctification by Michael Allen. Now, I know I read those books at least to the month of January 2018. As far as secular books, I was reading a horror fantasy by Clive Barker, The Great and Secret Show. Now, I know I read Clive Barker's horror fantasy, but I know I didn't finish it. I got almost to the end of it. Excuse me, I got something in my throat. I know I didn't finish that Clive Barker horror fantasy, The Great and Secret Show. I know that, but I did read it for a couple of weeks. And then, so as you all know, when I write in my diary each month, I go through from days 1 through 15. And then in the second one, I start on the 16th of that month. So, I was reading on January the 16th, 2018, I was reading The World Broken 2, Virginia Woolf, T.S. Eliot, and T.H. Lawrence E.M. Foster and the Year That Changed Literature by Bill Goldstein. Now, I know I read that at least for a couple of months, but I know I didn't finish it. I really enjoyed it and I was really into it, but I didn't finish it. I know where it is down the lower level if I want to pick up, and I almost read the whole thing, but I know I read it at least in January and February. And I also was reading The Most Dangerous Man in America, Timothy Leary, Richard Nixon, and the Hunt for the Fugitive King of LSD by Bill Mangado and Stephen L. Davis. Now, I know I read that, but I didn't finish it because I was kind of, I just didn't like the way it was written. It just seemed kind of contrived and it didn't seem real. But I know that later on in the year 2018, I did pick it up again. I don't remember what month I did, and read some more, but still didn't finish it. And let's see, towards the end of January 2018, what was I reading? I was reading the works of William Perkins, Volume 3, Commentary on Hebrews chapter 11. I know I didn't read that. Let me see what else I was reading here. I was reading God's Glory and Salvation Through Judgment. Now, I know I didn't finish that either. So let's go into the month of February 2018. And I'll just stop with this. I could go on all morning long. On the first day of January 2018, I was reading The Tragedy of Lyndon Johnson by Eric Goldman. Jesus Have I Loved But Paul, A Narrative Approach to the Problem of Pauline Christianity. Now, I know I read those for a couple weeks, but I know I didn't finish those books. I was reading on February the 7th, 2018, Happy by Nicola Barker, which is a novel. I know I didn't finish that. I was reading it, and then I stopped reading it. I was reading Building the Great Society Inside Lyndon Johnson's White House by Joshua Zitz. I know I read that for a couple of weeks, but I didn't finish it. What else here? I was reading on February the 10th, 2018, The Most Dangerous Man in America, Timothy Leary, Richard Nixon, The Hunt for the Fugitive King of LSD by Bill Menengo and Steve L. Davis. So I was reading that for a couple of months in the afternoons. So that's what I do. I'll go through these diaries and I'll list by month what I was reading. Like I said, if it's just mentioned one time or twice in 1 month, I know I didn't read it. But if I see I've listed that book consecutively throughout the weeks into us, like if from January and February that book is listed, then I know I read a major chunk of that book. So that's what I'm going to do the next couple of days. I'll do that in the afternoons. So that's what I do. I go through my diaries. I list what I've read consistently, not just one afternoon or just looked at it. I look at a lot of books throughout the day. I'm always going down the lower level and looking stuff up and glancing at things, but I'm not actually reading the book. I'm just glancing at it. So that's what my diaries are. This is what I do. These are my diaries for the month, the year 2018. And before you know it, I got to start on January the 1st, 2019. And here we go again, page 1. So that's how, so like I said, I don't know how many books I read. I know I read, see, I read all the time. I read in the mornings, afternoons, and evenings. I am a reader. It's just what I do. I mean, I'm retired. I don't work. Our kids are grown up. They're married. They're having families. We have 6 grandchildren. Our oldest son and his wife and 2 daughters live down the street. And my wife is a night nurse. She sleeps all day and she works all night. Of course, she's going to go into semi-retirement next month. But I have my own study. I can go in there and close the door, and I can read and write and contemplate and drift down the river of death. So I just thought, so what I'll do when I've done all this, I've gone through each of the months and listed what I have read. I will tell you in YouTube and BookTube the books that I really enjoyed reading, books that I found informative, books that I think are worth people to read, books that I thought were disappointment, books that really I learned a lot from, that provoked a lot of thought. Hopefully, throughout a given year in my reading, I have become more Christ-like. My understanding of reality has been more enriched, things like that. But I don't really set goals about I'm going to read 80 books in 1 year, or I'm going to read this. I don't do that. I just read whatever is on my desk or what's on my reading table in the living room. And whatever, I'm a mood reader, whatever I feel like reading. Like last couple of days, I've been reading a lot of Christian spirituality, St. John of the Cross, mystical theology. And then I'll get burnt out on that. And then I'll go to something else, like reading. I'm going to read this morning the Reformation commentary on the Gospel of John, chapter 4. And in the afternoons, I'm going to finish reading that novel by Richard Ford. And I got a book coming in the mail, a novel I might start reading. So I just thought I'd share you what I do at the end of the year and coming to know like a final wrap up of the year 2018, finding out what I read and what I enjoyed. So yeah, it's now 7:27 in the morning here in Southwest Michigan. It is December the 17th. It is a Monday, and I'll go to the Book Nook at 9:40, come home by 1:10, and just drift through the day, write in my diary, read my books. Yeah, so I'll sign off and hoping you'll have a good new week. Thank you for the new subscribers. Thank you for the comments, and hope you're all doing well. Amen.